Hi everyone. In last sessions, what we discussed about of the AWS CLI. Okay. In that, we already discussed about of the how to connect with our AWS account by using of the CLI. I want to connect with my AWS account. Then we have to use the AWS CLI. Otherwise, I want to connect my AWS account. Then we have to use the Terraform. We will have the separate session for the Terraform, and on the daily basis we are using of the AWS console account. So today we will start our new service that is called as a Elastic Beanstalk. So what is the Elastic Beanstalk? So we can say called as a it is a end-to-end web application management services. Okay. So what is the whenever we click on the Elastic Beanstalk here, you can see here. Otherwise, we can search here the Elastic Beanstalk. So whenever we're talking about of the Elastic Beanstalk here, you can see run and manage web or apps. So already we know that what is the platform as a service. Already we discussed about the how many services we have. So platform as a service, then infrastructure as a service, and software as a service. Already we discussed about of the software as a service, and already we discussed about of the infrastructure as a service. Then today we will discuss about the what is the platform as a service. So that is called as a we can say called as a platform as a service is nothing but already we know that platform as a service is nothing but it is a ready-made platform. So we will directly deploy our application on that particular the platform. So that is called as a PaaS, that is called as a platform as a service. Then AWS will provide two ready-made platform to run our application when we go for the Beanstalk. So we have the suppose whenever we're talking about of the code and whatever we have the application, who will be take care it? Suppose I'm having up some code for my application. So who about of the Beanstalk at that time it will be taken care by from the AWS side because we are using the platform as a service which is provided from the our AWS side. Then we can say call as a we have the ready-made platform, and we will deploy our code on that particular the platform, and we can say call as a our application will run on particular the platform that is called as a Elastic Beanstalk. But whenever we're talking about the suppose suppose whenever we have the one application, in that application I want to create some infrastructure. So then what we have to do, we have to first create a services. First we have to create a infrastructure setup, then we have to create a platform setup, then we have to deploy our app code. That is called as a, we can say called as a infrastructure as a service. But here, do we need to create the infrastructure setup? No. Here we don't require for the infrastructure setup in our Beanstalk. Suppose we have the one application here. Then I want to deploy my application. Then what we have to first? We have to first prepare the infrastructure setup. Then after that we have to prepare the we can say called as a platform setup. Then after that we have to prepare the we can say called as a deploy our app code here. So we can say called as a whenever we're talking about of the first what we have to do here, we have to create a infrastructure. So we can say called as a we can say called as a infrastructure first, sorry. Okay, then we can say called as a, this is the infrastructure setup. Then I want to second, I want to prepare the platform. Because why we need to the platform here? Because whenever we're talking about of the any of the application, we have to create first infrastructure setup, then we have to create a platform, then we have to code whatever we have the code, then we have to deploy the code in that. So I want to create a here platform setup here. So we can say call as a platform setup. After that, what we have to do? We have to deploy our code here. Where code we will deploy here? We will deploy here code or app code, whatever we have the application code. Then in what we have to do in the infrastructure setup, we have to create different services here. Suppose I want to create a first network. Okay, what why we require the network? Because already we know that without network, what we can do, we cannot do anything in that. So first we have to create a network in the infrastructure setup. Then we have to create a storage. Why we require the storage? Already we know that we have the two types of the storage. One is a suppose I want to store the particular of the data, whatever we have the rows and column data, then we will store in our RDS. Already we know that how to create the RDS and how to connect with RDS also. Okay. After that, we know that S3 bucket, that is called a simple storage. In that we will what we will store. In that we will store the metadata, whatever we have the like videos, audios, and whatever we have the backup, all those stuff, we will store in our S3 bucket. Then we have to create a storage because every application we require the storage. Then first we have to prepare the infrastructure setup. In that infrastructure, what we have to prepare, we have to create the network, we have to create the storage, then we have to create the some instances that is called as EC2 instance. Already we know that what is the EC2 instances. EC2 instance is nothing but we can say call it a it is a machines. What is the machines? Machine is nothing but we can say call it a it's a we can say call it whenever we're talking about of the instance is nothing but it's we can say call it a it is a machines. Okay, so we can say call it a, it's a virtual machines. Okay, after that already we know that uh, whatever we have the requirement in that we have to create it here. Suppose I want required one load balancer auto scaling, whatever we require, so we can say call it auto scaling group here, then we will create it here. Otherwise we can suppose whatever we requirement in that we have to prepare in the infrastructure setup. After that, platform setup. In that platform, what we required some like install the software. So I want required some installation for my software. Then we have to install our software in a platform setup. But whenever we're talking about of the elastic bin stack, at that time, do we require the infrastructure setup? Do we require the platform setup? Do we require our app code? Only we require the deploy our app code in a bin stack. So we are forgetting these two steps in a our elastic bin stack because we are using the already we are using the ready-made platform which is provided from the AWS side. So what we have to do in that second step, whenever we're talking about the any of the things here, so I want to install some software whatever we require the in our application. So we have to install the software. After that we can say call it the set up servers because already we know that what kind of the servers we require. Without server we can deploy our code or not? No, we cannot deploy our code because so see, whatever we have the code we have to deploy somewhere, that is called as a servers. So these are the things do we require in our elastic bean stack? No, we don't require for the infrastructure setup. We don't require the platform setup in our elastic bean stack. So just we want whatever we have the application code, that we have to pick that code and we have to deploy the code in our elastic bean stack. That is called as a we can say call as a platform as a service. So whenever we're talking about the elastic bean stack, it is an end-to-end web application management services. It is provided the platform as a services. You can say called as a PaaS. Then AWS will provided the ready-made platform to run our application when we go for the bin stack. Upload your code, run your application. AWS will be take care of the infrastructure and platform to our application. Otherwise, do we require those things infrastructure setup, platform setup, who will be take care it? It will be take care from the AWS side. So whenever we're talking about of the elastic bin stack here. After that, whenever we're talking about of the web application, the application which runs in the server, that is called as a web application. So whatever we have the application, we have to that application, we have to run our server, that is called as a web application, we can say. Suppose whenever we're talking about of the desktop application, then we require the jar files, otherwise DLL files. So whenever we're talking about of the jars and DLL, already we know that jar files for the Java and DLL files for the .NET sheet. So that at that time we can say a server will be required. What is the server? Server, we have the Tomcat server, WebLogic, WebSphere, JBoss. These are the Java web servers. Okay. After that, we can say whatever we have the client is a software. Suppose which is used to the send to the request to the server, and which is get response from the server side. So suppose we have the two things here in our picture. One is a client, one is a whenever we're talking about of the servers. So what is the server? Server is nothing but we can say called as a whatever we have. What is the client and server architecture? Whenever we're talking about of the client structure, whenever we're talking about of the client and server structure. So we can say called as a okay. So whenever we're talking about of the architecture here, okay. So this is the we can say called as a client and server architecture. In that client and server architecture, whenever we're talking about here the this is my client, we can say called as a then whenever we're talking about of the servers. So what is the server? Server is nothing but here we can say called as a so I can see here the server is a web server. So this is my client. So client, how to access the client our application by using of the browser. So just he want to enter the URL, then whenever we enter the URL, then we have to hit that URL to the server, then we have to get some response from the server side. That is called as a client and server architecture. This is we can say called as a request, then we can say called as a response. What is the response? If it is valid, then we can say called as a we will get the response. Otherwise, do we get the response from the server side? No, it is we are not getting any response from the server side. If it is valid from the client side, then we will provide the response from the server side. Otherwise, we will see that uh, invalid request. Whatever we have the user friendly message from the API side. So what is the whenever we're talking about of the servers here, so here suppose this is my application which is already installed in my web server. Then at that time what we have to use it here. So I want to use the EC2 Linux because already we know that where we have to deploy our application, we have to deploy our application in our Linux. So we can say call as a this is my application. So this is my server side. So this is my server root. This is my client. Then how to access our application from the client side? So client has to use the browser because without browser can we access our whatever we have the application, we cannot allow to the access because we are using the web application. So at that time client has to use the browser. Without browser can we access our application? No, we cannot allow to the access our application. So that is called as a and already we know that how to request the client and how to get the response from the server side. Already we discussed about of the OSI model because we don't know where exactly we have the server row. Suppose I am creating here the one server. Suppose I am creating one EC2 instances. Do we need to where exactly our EC2 instances? We know that Asia specific I'm using of the Singapore of the this region, but exactly we do we need to know where exactly this one? No. So right now we are using the AWS account. We know that I'm using of the Asia specific Singapore data center, and we are requesting to the data center I want to this machine. Then it will be run some GUI and it will be create some machines from our side. But how to request to that particular of the servers by using of the OSI model already we discussed. We will request it to from the client side to the server, and if it is valid that particular of the request, then we will provide to the uh, correct response from the server side. Suppose if it is a invalid client side request, then are we ready to, we can say call as a get to the response to the client? No, we are not ready to the get to the response from the server side because it is an invalid request. So already we know that suppose I want to install my one, suppose I want to deploy one application, we have to create an infrastructure setup, we have to create a one platform setup, then we have to deploy our code. But in Beanstalk, do we require for the infrastructure setup? Do we require the platform setup? No, we don't require for any of these things because we are using the platform as a service which is already provided from the AWS side. Just we want to deploy our code in a Beanstalk services, then it will be ready to use for our application. Then already we know that how to, what is the client and server architecture. This is my client, this is my server. Do we know that where exactly our server room? No, we don't know where exactly our server room. So client doesn't know these things because we can say call as a, somewhere we have the server room, just we are requesting from the in our application, then we will take that request from the client side and then we will provide to the that request to the server. Then if it is valid, then we will provide to the response to the client. Otherwise we are not ready to the get the response from the server side to the client. So that is called as a client server architecture. So what we discuss about of the elastic beanstalk, we discuss about of the web application. What is the web application? Web applications, suppose whatever we have the web application, client has to access our web application by using of the browser. Without browser, can we access it? We can access it. So suppose I want to access my web application, then already we know that in shell scripting how to ping to from the our side. But in that we are not using of the any GUI. So we at that time we are using of the Linux VM. But by using of the browser, every time we have to request to the application, whatever we have the application, we have to open it on the browser and we have to request whatever we require and we will get the response from the server side. Then we have the two types of the application already. We know that web application, one is the static web application and another is the dynamic web application. So how to deploy the static web application? Static web application, already we know that how to deploy the by using a PS3 bucket. We deploy the static website. Website we can say call as otherwise web application. But whenever we talking about of the dynamic web application I want to deploy, then we have to prepare the infrastructure setup, then we have to prepare the platform setup, then we have to deploy the our code in our dynamic web application. But I don't want to create infrastructure setup and platform setup, but I want to deploy my dynamic web application. Then we have to use the Elastic Beanstalk. By using of the Elastic Beanstalk, already whenever we search here the Elastic Beanstalk, you can see here the run and manage your web application. Then we can say by using of whatever we have the we can deploy the static website very easily by using of HTTP server. Already we know that by using of the HTTPD server and using of the S3 bucket. But I want to deploy the dynamic web application. To develop the dynamic web application, we will, like we have the Java technology, we have the Java technologies, we have the Python technology, .NET technology, Node.js, PHP. These type of the dynamic web application I want to deploy. Then what we have to do? We have to create a one infrastructure setup. Then we have to create a one platform. But whenever we need to the one platform below, we have to create a one network like VPC, subnets, and all those stuff. So whatever we discuss, we will discuss later on what is the network, and we will discuss deep dive in the VPC and subnets. Very important concept for the our services, like AWS services. VPC is nothing but virtual private, we can say call as a cloud. Then we can say call as a, it's a network in that we have the subnet get net gateway, then internet gateway. We will discuss deep dive in that. But Right now we are leaving this concept because we are talking about of the elastic Beanstalk here. Then we have to create one EC2 instances. Then we have to whatever we require the run application, whatever we require the software to run our application like Java, Tomcat. These are the things we have to install it in our platform as a service whenever we creating of the platform setup. But after that, what we have to do, then create a target group and load balancer, whatever in that we have to create it. Then we have to set up the auto scaling group and deploy our code. These are the procedure for the dynamic web application. But so who will be take care it? It will be as a DevOps engineer. We have to create an infrastructure setup. Then we have to create as a platform setup also as a DevOps engineer, and then we have to deploy our code. Who will be responsible for these things? Three of things we can say. It will be responsible as a cloud engineer, as a DevOps engineer. But whenever we're talking about of the elastic Beanstalk services, it will be take care of the whenever we're talking about of the 5 to 6 steps. What is the 5 to 6 steps? I want to deploy one Java application. Then who will be take care it in Beanstalk? It will be take care from the AWS side. So I want to but whenever we using of the elastic Beanstalk, then what is the costing for the elastic Beanstalk? So it's a free of cost elastic Beanstalk, because in that just we are creating the elastic Beanstalk. But whatever we are using of the EC2 instances, whatever we are using of the services in the elastic Beanstalk, those are the paid services. Because EC2 instance, who will be take it? Suppose I want to create a one infrastructure setup, then who will be take care it in the elastic Beanstalk? It will be take care from the AWS side. But internally they are using of the creator network, they are creating the storage EC2 instances and whatever auto scaling group, they are using the internally some services. Then those services are the pay we have to pay the for those services. But whenever we're talking about of the Amazon elastic Beanstalk, it's a totally we can say called as a free of the cost. We need to the pay of the amount for the resources which are created by the Beanstalk, like EC2 instances, S3 bucket, then load balancer, then auto scaling group. These are the things whatever we are using for the our application. So these are the paid services, then we have to pay it. Otherwise, elastic Beanstalk we can say call as a it's a free of the cost. Then suppose I want to create a one elastic Beanstalk. Then what is the procedure for the elastic Beanstalk? I want to create a one elastic Beanstalk services in my AWS account. Right now I'm using of the my root account here. But if whenever we're talking about the IAM role here, so we require the three policies required. So how to apply the three policies? So whenever we're talking about of the IAM services here, I think already I have added the three policies. First one is a AWS Elastic Beanstalk multi-container Docker services. You can see here the I'm having of two users here. One is a test user. In that test user, we will see the how many policies we have. You can see here the administrator access we require everywhere, because otherwise we cannot create a services. See, in Raju account also I'm not having of any accesses. I'm not having of any users here, which is already. So we will create one user here. Otherwise we will add the policies. See, I want to create a add permissions here. You can see here the so attach the policies directly here. So I'm not using of the any group here copy permissions. I'm not having of that. So I'm using directly permissions here. So creating the elastic Beanstalk in our IAM role. So what is the my IAM role here? So it's a test account. In that test account, we require the three policies. One is a AWS Elastic Beanstalk. Elastic. You can see here the AWS multi-container here. See, multi AWS Elastic Beanstalk we can call it as a Beanstalk here. Then multi-container Docker. This is the one service we need to add here. We have to add this one. Then after that, what we have to use it. Then AWS. I will add my in my notes everything in that. I will mention in that. Don't worry. Each and everything I will mention it. Elastics. Sorry, elastics. Oh, sorry. Beanstalk. AWS Elastic. Beanstalk. The web tier. This is the another. Okay. After that, uh, AWS Elastic. ELK. STALK. Then work tier. Work. See this one. Work tier. So web tier and worker tier. This is the we have to three add the policies. One is the Elastic Beanstalk multi container Docker, then AWS Elastic Beanstalk web tier, and AWS Elastic Beanstalk work tier. These are the three roles we policies we have to add in our IAM user account. Otherwise, we cannot create it. And after that, we require one administrator access for the. After that, you can search here. So right now we are creating the lab task and we are deploying the one Java web applications. So what is the Java web application? It's a dynamic. We are not deploying any static website here. So you can see here the Elastic Beanstalk in that. In that Elastic Beanstalk, I'm using of the for the root account. Is this best practices? No, this is not best practices. You can use the you can create a one IAM account, IAM user account. In that add the three policies. So and you can use it. So for uh, we can say call it for session purpose. Just I'm using of the root account here. So here you can select here the web server environment here. So worker environment we have here. Right now I'm not selecting anything. I'm not changing anything here. So I'm selecting web server environment here. After that I'm creating the so it's a demo application. So we can say call it a demo application. So here you can see this is my demo application environment here. So you can check here the availability zone, whatever we have the domains. So right now we are not using of the any domains here. So what kind of this platform we require? So already we discussed here. Why we discussed here? So we are creating the one infrastructure setup, platform setup. As a DevOps engineer, we are not using all the Elastic Beanstalk. At that time, we have to create the infrastructure setup, platform setup. But whenever we using of the Elastic Beanstalk in that, we are selecting just the platform setup. So what kind of software we require? So I'm using of the Java application. Suppose I want to deploy the .core on Linux on Windows Server. So number of application, Tomcat, everything here you can see here. But right now I'm using the Java here. Then sample application I'm deploying. Suppose I want to deploy my our own code. So I'm not deploying any our code here, customized code here, which is already providing the sample application from the AWS side. So that's why I'm using here the application code as a sample application. If you want to upload it, your own code, whatever you created, then just you have to select it here version. Already we know that what is the version label. Already we discussed it. Then after that you can see here the maximum size it here, public S3 URL, then local file. I want to use the local file here, which is available in my systems. Then you have to select it. Otherwise, which is already if you are using the public S3 URL, then just you have to paste it here. but right now we are using the sample application here. Then what kind of configuration we require? Single instances, free tier eligible. Single instances using the spot instances, high availability. What is the purpose of the high availability? So it will be available for the 24 by 7. So you will get some VIP treatment in that. High availability using of the spot and different types of the configurations here. But for just we are providing the sample application, so that's why I'm using the free tier eligibility. Custom configuration also. If you want to custom configuration, then you can select it. Otherwise, whatever if it is existing high availability and using of the spot, then you can select it here. After that, next, just I'm clicking on the next here. Then already we discussed here. So whenever you are using the IAM role account here, then you have to select it here, AWS Elastic Beanstalk. Already I have created the role, so that's why I'm using of the existing one. If you are not created, if you are not see here anything here, then just select it here, otherwise you can create it here. So already we know that how to create a role and everything here. Okay, after that I'm using of the elastic beanstalk here. So you can see here the this is the elastic beanstalk instances, and then I'm using of the test 1 2 3 5. This is the key pair which is already, this is the optional. What is the EC2 instances? Just I'm using of the EC2 instances, which is already we discussing where we have to create it. In infrastructure setup we have to create it. So who will be taken? It will be taken. Everything will be from the AWS side. Just we have to provide the parameters. Then once we provided these things, service role, then EC2 instances profile, then EC2 key pair also. These are the optionals, but if you have the existing key pair, then you can select it. Otherwise, leave it. Okay. So it won't be impact anywhere. It will be created automatically from the AWS side. Then we have to the skip to the review here. So otherwise, next you can see here the configuration, traffic, scaling. You can check here, update, monitoring, logging. Already we know that. What is the monitoring, logging? We already discussed about of the cloud watch and SNS services also. We already discussed about of the auto scaling group here. These are the things here. These are the optional, but I'm not uh, using anything in that because we are just deploying the sample dynamic web application by using of the platform of the Java application. So directly I'm skip to review here. So I'm not going to anywhere here. So here it's a created. You can see here the configuration set of all those stuffs. Who will be take care? It will be take care from the Elastic Beanstalk, and who will be provided these things. These are the things it will be provided from the AWS side. Then you can just create a service here. Once we created the services here, it will be take some time. You can see here the events, whatever we have the logs here, it will be take some time because we are launching the environment, because we are deploying our application code in our AWS side. And once we deploy our code in our AWS, who will be access? Everyone will be access our application. You can see here the, just refresh it, it will be updating, supported. So you can see here the domain is not created here. Health also is pending because it will be creating the few minutes for the creating the elastic beanstalk here. Once it is created, then we can see here the domain. What is the domain? Domain is nothing but our application name here. Suppose I want to deploy, I want to, we can call it a Flipkart application. Then Flipkart is a domain. So just we have to purchase the domain. We will discuss later on. We have the options in the AWS. You can see here the refresh here. My environment is created here. Then domain is available here. You can see here the my domain name is a demo application environment, and it some using of the already domain here, AP South, then Singapore. These are the things here. but I want to access my application. Then how we can access it? We have to use this domain here. Once we click on the domain name here, then we will access our application here. You can see here the successfully we deploy our application in our elastic Beanstalk here. It will be take some time because it's a pending, so we have to wait for some time here. Let me refresh it here. So domain name is available here, but you can see here the this site can't be because it's taking some time here. So and we can see here the health is a pending. So if you want to monitor your application, you can see here the monitoring log, health, everything will be available in that. Alarm. What is the alarm? Alarm is nothing but so based on our condition, it will be trigger the event from the AWS side to the our DevOps team, our management team, and then we will see what is the issue in that our application. Based on our conditions, we can see that event is nothing but whatever we. Let me refresh it. Let's see. Go to the environment. You can see here the my see here. I will refresh it. You can see here that it's launched successfully. You can see here that it's a dynamic application. So you can see here that it's a dynamic. It's not a we can call it a already. It's a sample application. You can see here the this is my internet, then elastic load balancer, then HTTP security. This is the um, officially documentation part which is deployed in our sample application. You can see here the it's a dynamic. Then Java SC. So Java standard editions. We can see here the documentation part whatever we have the documentation configuration each and everything in our application here. You can see here the not secure. What is the my domain what is the my URL name here? Demo application environment. So successfully we deployed our application by using of the we you can see here that it's okay. Then just click on it. Here you can see. So whenever we provided to this link to anyone, whenever our AWS is running here, so whenever we provide this link, then that user can access our application because our elastic Beanstalk is running. You can see here the health, then you can see here the logs also here. I want to check logs, but here do we created log here? No, we are not created any log. If you want to create it, then you can request it. After that, I want to deploy my code on whatever we have the updated code in my application. Suppose I want to change this buttons, learn more buttons, and something in that also here. You can see here the AWS application is deployed by using of this link. So suppose I have updated some existing updated in my application, and those updated I want to deploy. Then how we can deploy it? You can see here the upload and deploy here. In that upload and deploy here, we will select the whatever we have the web archive file, otherwise jar files, otherwise we can call the DLL file. These are the files we need to be selected our own code, customized code. This is my application. In that application, some in that requirement, user wants to change this learn more buttons and they won't just ship to the one card here. We added one card here like help card, AWS help card. Then we want to deploy the new updated application. Then just we have to select it here and we have to select that file. Then we will see the whatever we have updated deployed in our production environment. Then we can see here. This is the elastic Beanstalk. So what is the purpose of the elastic Beanstalk here? So do we require to create the infrastructure setup? Do we require for the platform setup? No, we don't require anything in that because we are using the just we are using the platform as a service which is already provided from the AWS side. So already it's provided from the AWS side, so we don't require for the whatever infrastructure setup, platform setup. Just we have to select it, those parameters and we have to create the elastic Beanstalk and we have to deploy our code in our production environment. Once we deployed it, then user can access our application. This is the dynamic website, we can say. And what is the static website? Static website is nothing but everything will be static. So we can say call it will be limited access. We can say call it everything will be static in that. What is the dynamic? Dynamic is nothing but it will be dynamic. So based on our performance, suppose I'm clicking on that particular the button, everything in that. So it will be changing. So it will be dynamic behavior. Then we can say call it a dynamic web application and static web application. So this is the elastic Beanstalk services here. So I want to you can see in that actions load configuration, save configuration, swap environment, domain, also clone environment. What is the clone environment? Clone environment is nothing but we can create a duplicate our environment. So here we have the already clone here. Already we have the this is the environment which is already deployed in our production environment. I want to clone that environment, then we can use the clone environment. I want to restart app server here, then we can restart app server. I want to rebuild the environment here. Suppose I'm restarting my servers here, then you can see here the can we access it here? You can see here the bad request because it's a restarting our server. So it is a restarting our server, so that's why user cannot access it here. You can see here the Nginx here. We use the Nginx server here. We will discuss it later on in deep dive. What is the Nginx? Everything will be discussed. Just leave it. Then whenever we start restarting our servers here, and whenever we refresh it, at that time can we access it? Can access our application? No, we cannot access our application because we are restarting our server. So that's why we cannot access our application. Once it's restarted, you can see here after refreshing, user can access it. So that is called as a restart. You can see here the rebuild. Then I want to terminate my whatever we terminated environment, so user cannot use it. Here you can see here the my application name here, environment ID here. Then if it is okay, that is called as a we can say called as a my application health here. Then platform state, what is the platform state here? Supported running version. Suppose I want to add the monitor here. I want to monitor log here. You can add it. You can alarm. I want to add the alarms in that. You can add it because whenever we're talking about of the real-time scenario, we have to create our own infrastructure setup in that. Otherwise, software as a service, we have to use it. Sometimes we have the small application in that. What we have to use it? Elastic Beanstalk because already we have the infrastructure setup. Then already we have the platform setup. Just we have to deploy the work code. Who will be take care it infrastructure setup, platform setup? It will be take care from the AWS side. But in real scenario, based on our requirement, we have to use the elastic Beanstalk. So it's we can say called as a serverless computing. We can say called it. We will discuss tomorrow. We will discuss in upcoming session Lambda functions in our AWS. So both are the we can say called as serverless computing. But what is the difference between that? Here we can say called as a elastic Beanstalk is a we can say called as serverless computing. Lambda also is a serverless computing. But what is the main difference between that? We will discuss in upcoming session. Whenever we talking about here, so whenever we search here the Lambda functions, you can see here the run code without thinking about of the servers. Do we need to think about of the server? No, we don't think about of the servers because who will be take care? It will be take care from the our AWS side. So in that uh, we have this one main difference in that we will discuss in upcoming. We will start our Lambda next services. We will discuss it because Lambda and Beanstalk both have the same functionalities, we can say, but we have the one difference in that we will discuss in upcoming sessions, in upcoming services. Once we completed the Lambda functions, Lambda services, then we will jump on our next services. In last sessions, we will discuss in deep dive VPC. What is the VPC? We will discuss deep dive because it's a very important services. So I think that's it for the Elastic Beanstalk. So just make sure whatever you created the services, make sure you have to delete it. Otherwise, bill will be generated. So first we have to delete the application, then we have to terminate your environment. So if you are trying to delete uh, terminate your environment, it won't be deleted. So first we have to delete our application. Where we can delete it, just click on it here and delete it here from here. So it will be take it time. So just delete the application. Once you delete it, then terminate your environment. It will be deleted from the AWS side. So what we discussed here, we discussed about of the Elastic Beanstalk. So what is the Elastic Beanstalk and what is the purpose of the Elastic Beanstalk? And we discuss about of the web application and how many web application types also. Then how to deploy process. Suppose we have the dynamic web application. In that dynamic web application, I want to deploy the uh, by using of the Elastic Beanstalk. So what we have the process, in normal process we have the 5 to 6 processes here. We have to create the network, we have to create a EC2 instances, then we have to require. So first we have to create the infrastructure setup, then we have to create the platform setup, then we have to deploy the code. But in Elastic Beanstalk, do we require to create the uh, platform and platform setup and infrastructure setup? We don't require to create the um, infrastructure setup and platform setup. Directly we can deploy our code. Just we have to configuration some data in that. Once we configuring that as per our requirement was, then we can deploy it easily. So I think that's it for today. So I will delete it this one. So just copy this one. Tomorrow we will start our sessions. In upcoming sessions we will start our Lambda functions. Okay. I think that's it for today. Thank you guys.